I can't stand it, and I've got to get this recorded because Monday I'm having my monthly treatment and I'm going to feel terrible like I've had chemo for a few days. And so I have to say something about the process of making these recordings before I get going with the Virgin Spring. I have done journalism as a student, but I was paid for it, so I know a little. I worked in radio. I have an English degree, and I've been a hobbyist writer, gosh, I mean, my whole life. But I have no idea how to script these videos in the way that all of the conventional wisdom says that I'm supposed to tell you what the conclusion is before I give you the body of the work. There's not supposed to be an introduction. Some of you have already left. I guess if you like me, that's what you're listening for. I'm attempting to make videos, like I've said, well, as a podcast from the beginning, that somebody would want to listen to, that wants to listen to someone droning on and on about something, because that's what I like. And every time that I write out a script and read it, I feel bad. So I'm not going to do that all the time unless it's a movie that I just can't grasp. This movie has been driving me nuts. I didn't know it existed until a few days ago, and now I'm obsessed with it. I found out from watching old tapes of Siskel and Ebert talking about guilty pleasures on from 1979. Ebert said that Last House on the Left was a guilty pleasure of his, and then he brought up that it was a remake of The Virgin Spring, and I didn't even know that The Virgin Spring exists. I'm not a Bergman guy. I've seen Hour of the Wolf because I heard that it was like an influence on David Lynch, and I caught Fanny and Alexander on TV when I was 7 or 8 and was fascinated, just transfixed by it. But I haven't dug into Bergman. And I have steadfastly refused to watch Last House on the Left. I think that's my confessional here. I have been a horror film fan. I'm not a movie buff. I'm a cinephile. And I'm not a completionist. So I don't see everything that someone has made. And I do not like rape revenge movies because in order for somebody to get the revenge, there has to be the rape, and the character that is raped and murdered exists only for this other person to have some kind of transformation or character arc. And plus, I don't want to watch a rape. It's triggering, and you can guess why. And but my obsession with the Criterion Channel at the moment and my love of art films won out over my disgust. And I thought that this was going to be an art version of an exploitation film, but it is an art version of a Western. It is a Western. It is about this man played by Max von Sydow, who has hung up not his gun, he's hung up his religion, his Odin, Norse gods, pagan religion, and become a Christian. And then his daughter gets raped and murdered, and he has to pick up his old religion again, and he does this ritual, and he's got to kill these guys. And the thing that I really hate about this movie, I knew I was going to be emotionally manipulated. I did a lot of research. I read spoilers when I know I'm going to watch something that's going to be too much for me. And I found out when the scene was where the girl's attacked, and I thought I'm going to skip it. And at first I was just going to watch the pregnant servant interacting with Odin or the bridge keeper in the hut. But I got so into that scene, and I'll tell you that why later, that I decided, fuck it, I'm just going to watch the whole movie. And then I got up to that point where I knew that Karen was going to be attacked, and I I felt like I couldn't breathe, and I was kind of in the fetal position on the couch, and I had this like clenching in the bottom of my stomach, like I was guarding against what was happening. And it's bad. It's very, very bad, 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 bad. And I never want to see that scene again. But I want to give it to this actress who played Karen, that when it has happened to her and she stands up and there's a moment of realization of what has just happened, and then she lets out this wail because everything has been destroyed, her view of the world and her faith and her understanding of how people work and her future, because she has no purpose other than to be, it's the 1400s. She doesn't exist other than to be handed off from her father to a man, and that would be pretty much ruined by what's just happened in the society that she's living in. This wail that she lets out, I don't even know how you learn to do that in drama school. That was the most terrifying, and yet the best part of all of that, as upsetting as it was. But the most upsetting thing, oh, and I wanted to say more about Karen. Unlike most exploitation victims, and this isn't an exploitation film, like I said, it's a Western, but it's an avant-garde one. She's a fully fleshed out character. She's there for half the movie. And it's very important to note that the movie wants to paint her as spoiled and silly, but she is also got a great sense of humor, and she's imaginative, and she's kind. Her servant, their pregnant servant or half sister or whatever she is, Ingari, is jealous of her because she saw Karen talking to the farmer the night before at the dance, who's probably the father of her baby. But what Karen was doing was trying to get him to come forth with some child support. And then Karen is sharing her lunch with what she thinks are some hungry beggars, poor shepherds, goat herds by the side of the road, and they kill her. And so she was a good person, and she was a whole person, and she wasn't just a device to make you want revenge. But the worst thing, the hell of it is, it's pissing me off. I did want the revenge. I felt like I had a biological imperative to see a silent man at the end of his rope killing everyone in the room. And isn't that the appeal of Westerns? Isn't that what we really want to see? I hate to admit it. And I don't even put myself in the position very often to feel that way with one of these movies. And I think that's why I watch a lot of stuff that's stupid and silly, so I don't have to feel anything or be reminded of anything. Max von Sydow, of course, masterful performance. How do you learn to have your face show that you just threw a child against the wall and then realize what you've done? The character of his wife, she's been using Christianity to abuse herself. She's a flagellant. She's burning herself with candle wax and cutting her hands with her fingernails as part of her prayer. And then when her husband gets ready to take his revenge on the murderers, he's flagellating himself with birch branches. And let me go back to him putting away his old religion and then picking it back up. There's the servant living in the house who has witnessed the murder, who tells him what she's seen. These murderers are at their house. It's the last house on the left scene where they accidentally come to the house of the victim. And there's mirroring that I can't ignore. In my attempt to distance myself from this film and analyze it, I noticed certain things. The servant, he tells her, heat the water, and I'll get the branches. And she doesn't even say how much water or what temperature or what are you doing. She just knows that he's going to do this cleansing ritual from their old religion before he goes and kills these guys. And then his wife, who has discovered that they've killed her daughter by the fact that they've tried to sell her the child's clothes, she just calmly says, my husband will decide what these clothes are worth. And then she locks them in the room where they're spending the night. And all of them wordlessly plan to kill these people. And you can't wait for them to kill these people. And they can't do it nastily enough, in my opinion. And it isn't, except for killing the little kid, it isn't graphic enough. There's nothing too bad for these guys, and the audacity that they had to come to that house, and the audacity that this filmmaker has to make me feel this way, and to set up shots like bringing all the murderers to sit around the table with this beatific lit Max von Sydow. Like they actually set up a shot to look like the Last Supper, and he's Jesus, but he's not the forgive and love your neighbor Jesus. He's like the motherfucker God of the Old Testament, and he's literally going medieval on these guys. And then there's a monk who's telling the little kid these bedtime stories about hell before they all go to sleep. And then the shot dissolves from his face into this horrible crucifix. And I consider all of that to be audacious because the strokes are so bold. And I have to say that I expected high art, but what I kind of got was an avant-garde Roadhouse, and I should have known because my husband liked The Virgin Spring as much as I did, and he would rather be watching Roadhouse than anything on the Criterion Channel. But this is just Roadhouse, and it's high art Roadhouse, but it's Roadhouse, it's Unforgiven, it's Shane, it's whatever. Or if you want to go east, The Iron-Fisted Monk. Why do we need to watch these movies? I don't know. I would like to know, what it is that appeals, why you want to set yourself up with that tension and then only have it released by a guy killing everyone in the room. Maybe you can tell me. I'll end with my favorite part of the movie, which was Ingari the servant. She's running out of the hut where she's met Odin, and the camera follows her, and it makes it look like supernatural or black magic. The actual camera work is so good that it zigs and zags with her. The camera goes to different opposite scenes, opposite, they're looking from different angles, and they cut it together as though, I don't know how many cameras they had, or if they set the shot again and again and it was just seamless. It's starting to go into the part where the woods, these women are going into the woods, and it's getting more evil. And so I think that's why the camera did something impossible. And at the end of it, the guy she was running away from in the hut is there in front of her where he couldn't be. And so that was the best part to me, was that crazy camera work. And so I guess in the end, I am going to take myself out of it. I'm going to try to stop thinking about that woman wailing, and try to stop thinking about why someone would do what they did to her, and stop thinking about that these people probably walk among us who, if they could get you alone, would do just what those goat herders did. And that's the worst part, other than that it's this filmmaker having a conversation with himself about two religions and realizing that they both come up to nothing. And I watched an interview with him tonight about persona, and not the Virgin Spring, where that made him happy, that religion was nothing, that it didn't exist. I don't agree, as you know. That may be problematic for some of you, but I'm also not into the God of vengeance. So I don't know why I liked this movie so much, and I'm appropriately ashamed of myself, and I will self-flagellate with having to get this terrible cancer treatment on Monday and sit around feeling bad for a couple of days. So I hope you could make some sense of it. Do you have any truly guilty pleasures in your movie life? Not something that you're guilty about because it's anti-intellectual, but that you're guilty about because you allow yourself to become too into what's happening in the film and too emotionally manipulated the way I was, even though I did a bunch of research and thought I could be above it all. Let me know in the comments, and have a good week.